What up, Doe? One Pride. This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, a podcast where one pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick, and I am very soon to be joined by Stephen Collins, who's just ran off to put on a Lions hoodie. And welcome to episode 145, Genome Sequencing. We're here tonight to preview the Seattle Seahawks game this coming weekend. Speak of the devil, and he shall arrive. Stephen Collins, the grand master of Detroit hip-hop from the 90s, the 80s, the noughties. This is a Lions podcast, but if you ever want to ask questions about that, he will school you with his knowledge there. Steve, how are we doing today?
I mean, don't pigeonhole me, Ant. It's not just Detroit hip-hop and 90s old school. You know, if anyone wants to ask me any table tennis questions, I am a table tennis maestro. It's very niche interests. Hip-hop, table tennis, and the Detroit Lions. Very niche.
I think they call it ping pong over there, so either ping pong or tennis, whatever you know it as. Steve is a master at that as well, but Detroit hip-hop is the one love outside of the Lions. So yeah, anytime you want to ask him questions, feel free. Steve, we're on to episode 145. We've got nearly as many episodes as Justin Fields has passing yards in the league this year. That's not bad going for us, is it?
I mean, it's quite interesting because it's about this time of year that, you know, the good teams appear and show themselves and the bad teams appear. And I kind of think that the Bears are a little bit off people's radar when it comes to bad teams. Probably because this, you know, obviously the Seahawks have been stinking, and the Raiders, who I think are probably in a lot of people's focus. But I think the Bears have been on the down low, just absolutely wretched. And I know the guys on the Bears podcast, while celebrating defense, have been pretty horrified with how Justin Fields is playing. But yeah, I mean, there's no point us talking about the Bears until we play them, because we were just setting ourselves up for abuse.
No, I just wanted to get that one shot in at Justin Fields before we started this evening, because, you know, I'm in a mood to dish out some this evening. I'm over the Vikings now, but yeah, I'm ready to lay out again. Just want to give a shout out to everyone who's joining us this evening. Oh, we've got a few people already. So in YouTube, got John Ball, Tom R, my man Drew Forsyth is in there. Joseph Austin, he says Best Lines YouTube channel. Hello from Midland. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate everyone who comes in here. Ash dropped in there as well. Got Paul Rose, good morning from San Jose, California. Good, we've got people from everywhere. Flint, Michigan, Kalamazoo, Metamora in Michigan. I've never heard of there before. You learn something new every day. Micro Mike is in the building as well. Good to have you in there, Mike. James Burgess is in. He says, love the episode title. I'm glad someone got it. I thought it was very clever there myself. Brent DeWitt is in the building as well. Geordie Mansion is in there. Yeah, thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. And on Twitch, seen a few guys in there as well. Ash is in there. He says, good evening, lads. We'll resub with Prime when I get home from work. Thank you. Dan Paskey's in there. Hi, guys. Cheers for the preview. And he says, hey to Ash as well. So, yeah, thank you, everyone who has joined us this evening. Got a bit of news to go through first. But just before we do, honestly, a few little issues out there at the minute. Just want to quickly go over. So, you know, I don't know why, but we have people listen to us from all over America, and as I say, we really do appreciate it. And at the minute, one particular part of the country has taken a little bit of a battering. Obviously, Hurricane Ian has made landfall in Florida, so to anyone who does listen to us, who is out there in the area, has been affected, we hope that you, your families, and everyone else are safe and sound from that, and hopefully nothing too bad has happened as a result of it. So yeah, you know, hope everyone is good out there. And Steve, also, we mentioned a little bit about rap there. We lost Coolio yesterday as well, which, big blow. Rest in peace to him. I used to grow up watching Keenan and Kel, his theme tune for that. Absolutely loved it, and it's a big loss.
Yeah, obviously, like Gangsta's Paradise, like a massive hit, but yeah, like I think a really well-loved character in the West Coast rap scene. I think one of like Ice Cube's original posse as well, and yeah, like a big character. So I think he will be much missed.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I'd say big shame. Grew up listening to him. Love Keenan and Kel. Love that theme. So yeah, raw R.I.P. to Coolio. Right, let us get the housekeeping out of the way. So the Roar of the Lions Discord. If you're not involved with it yet and you want to get involved, just give us a shout and I will drop you a link for that. Great little place, a lot of discussion, a lot of good chat in there at this moment in time. The college football podcast, myself and Ryan did yesterday. We had a look back at week 4 of the college season, a lot going on there at the moment. We had a look ahead to the weekend when the in-conference warfare truly begins in earnest, and we also did a deep dive on BYU lineman Clark Barrington. As we always say, if there's anyone you want us to look at in college, any positional groups or anything, just let us know and we will get it in on the show for you. So hopefully Paul from our Discord, if you're listening to that, hope you enjoyed the rundown we did on him there. Obviously don't forget to like and sub to everything. You know, Mike's in the building, Grandizer's in the building shouting us out. We really appreciate that. We're breaking little boundaries on everything at the minute. We're getting to where we want to go, so thank you ever so much for that. And then obviously Lions Nation Unite, you can find us over there with great YouTube content creators like Micro Mike, etc. You know, it's great. We have all these wonderful roundtables, all these big discussions. Get over, check it out. It's content by Detroit Lions fans for Detroit Lions fans. Right. Everything is out of the way there, so let's dive down into some news, Stephen. And it seems that we hear nothing but bad news about the. Oh my word, he's got his albums out.
I've just been. I just thought while you were talking, I've actually got a creator for younger listeners, vinyl records. It was a prehistoric music form, so I've had a dig in my crates and I found some Coolio. There we go.
There we go. Like I say, Steve has everyone and everything. You want to ask a question about hip hop, Steve will likely know about it. It's incredible how he knows so much. About it. Right, so yeah, Steve, as I say, we've been hearing lots of bad news about injuries, players getting injured. I think it's just part and parcel of the bill of being a Detroit Lions fan at this moment in time. However, there's been some more good news this week when it comes to the injury fronts. Maybe not from the guys who are on the team, but more in regards to guys who are trying to get back on to the team. So we heard, I think it was yesterday, cornerback Jerry Jacobs. He has announced that he is allowed to begin practicing next week as he ramps up his recovery from a torn ACL. So everyone on IR or PUP at the moment, I think there's about 9 of them, from the start of the season is eligible to be taken off those lists as of next week. And then whenever the Lions do so, they have 3 weeks to reinstate them to the active roster. But as the beat writers are pointing out, the bye week is approaching, so with some of them they may choose to not bring them off just as quick, because obviously there's a big gap during the bye, so they can maybe keep them on there a little longer, get them a little healthier, and then bring them back after the bye. We don't know, but in Jerry Jacobs' case, I think we've missed him. I think we want his enthusiasm, his energy, his vigour, his will to get better, his will to, prove everybody wrong on this team. You saw it last year. He earned himself a starting spot. He looked great while he was doing so. The injury was horribly timed. We're ready to see Jerry again, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think we're going to come on to this topic, but when you look at teams where they've got 2 really strong wide receivers, and we're going to be facing DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett this week, we've got it. Okuda's proved that he's back and can absolutely lock down one of those wide receiver 1 or 2s. But we saw from Amani last week how far off the pace he is. And, we would absolutely love to have a healthy Jerry Jacobs playing and shutting down Tyler Lockett this week. So, the sooner he's back on the field, the better. Yeah,
absolutely. I can't wait to have him back. Let's say he's the epitome of what New Detroit's about. It doesn't matter where you come from. He's an undrafted free agent. If you want an opportunity, you earn the opportunity. You get to keep the opportunity, and he epitomises that to a T. So I'm really looking forward to him back. And also the other one, Jameson Williams. He seems to be on track for a return after the bye week, if all these updates are to be believed. He's running routes again. He can't do anything on the field with the team currently because that is part of the restrictions about being on PUP, etc. But it was kind of the general consensus that we would not see him before the bye and maybe after. So obviously 2 games left, couple of weeks break there. Looks like just possibly, not going to say we will, but we might have our X Factor back after the bye. How excited are you starting to get knowing that he's that much closer to getting back on the roster?
I mean, 100% excited, but at the same time, like if we're and I don't want to go into a doom spiral of depression here, but if we're 1-4 after the bye week, I don't really want to see Jameson Williams pushing himself to be, playing for us. I think we've got the Cowboys in week 7. Like, please just rest up, be healthy, and we'll see you when we see you. But if we can get into the bye week with a positive record, how amazing would that be to be if Jacobs appears, particularly like maybe against the Packers in week 8 or the Bears. Packers in week 9 or the Bears in week 10. I'd be absolutely loving that. I'd love to see him against the Bears secondary.
Oh, it's like I put on Twitter today, like the only 3 words I want to hear in life at the minute, it's not a nice lady say that she loves me or something like that. I just want to hear the 3 words, Jameson Williams activated, and that will send me to sleep happy. So, that will
activate and
that will activate me. That just, oh dear, I've been single too long, haven't I? Right. Yeah, so Jameson might be back after the bye. Hopefully so. I agree with you, obviously, as long as it's not too quick, but the bye, the game after the bye, that would be 1, 2, 3 weeks away from this point now. So it's a good amount of time to be able to get him back in, get him prepped, and if you can get him in on that long spell, getting back in the team, 2 weeks of practice with the team without having to play a game, then who knows? We'll see. But I'm really looking forward to him. I'm not going to lie at all. In terms of all the other long-term injured who could possibly come back next week, obviously your Josh Pascals, your Levi Onwuzurike's, your Romeo Aquaras, there's complete radio silence at the minute, I think is the theme there, and I guess we can touch on this a minute here because I've seen there's a big debate about Levi in the chat at the minute. It's concerning that all these other guys we are hearing nothing about. Pascal, we were made to believe it wasn't a serious injury. We've not heard a word about him from anybody. Levi was the same, it was a knock, still not heard anything. And Romeo, it's about a year to the day since he did his injury, and again, radio silence. You saw Rakuda's entire recovery process with Romeo. You've barely seen a thing. Is it started time to get worried? Is it time to worry about some of these guys now?
Yeah. So just I've not seen it, but what's the chat about Levi?
Well, someone said trade him, and then a lot of people got mad about it. And you know what? In fairness, I'm not on the trade boat with him yet, but someone said trade, and it just put up a lot of debate about him, the injury history, etc. And I think there is genuine cause for concern. I'm on record as saying I'm fed up with injured players here, and the experiment with Deshaun Hand, waiting 4 years for him to get healthy, it didn't pay off, and you don't want to go through that again with lots of other guys. It is, I think, for me, it's the fact I'm hearing nothing. I've known like Jeff Okudah and Jerry Jacobs' entire recovery process because everyone's talking about it. With Romeo, you ain't seen a damn thing. You ain't heard a damn thing. I don't think we've heard from him forever. What feels like forever. It has to be a point of concern at some stage for him and the 2 DTs because, we've invested 2 second-round picks in these DTs and we need them playing. It's obvious on the pitch we need them.
So my question is, what trade value do you think we would get for Levi?
Nothing. Second year guy who's not played and who has been injured.
So I kind of think to people on the chat, I mean, what's the point of even talking about trading him? Like either he's there, talent, and he just needs to heal up, or I mean, what's the point of even talking about trading him? It's just like daft.
Yeah, I know. I think it's just frustration. I think in a lot of cases, I'm frustrated. I love Levi. As a player coming out of college, love what he's got, love what he puts down on tape, love what he could bring to this team, and I'm frustrated to hell that we can't play him. And then with Pascal, you want to see a bit of him in there as well. You can see just in that interior, we've just been missing a little bit, and that's what you invest in these guys for.
I mean, so I thought that Pascal just had I think they described it as a sports hernia, and the recovery for that is 2 to 3 months, and that was February.
No, it was March. March. When we did the initial when they told us about that, me and Matt worked out the timetable to be midway through August when he was back. We are now 6 weeks later than that, and there's still no word on him whatsoever. So, again, that's concerning, because you didn't think he'd have to go on IR, because they said, he's about 3 weeks away. So, no, just put him on IR, that's a month. But they did. Still nothing. So...
Yeah, I mean, I think Romeo, that Achilles injury, for some people it's 12 months, for some people it's 15 months, for some people it's 18 months. So I'm kind of less concerned about that, because I probably didn't expect him back until, I don't know, Thanksgiving time anyway. But Pascal, I was kind of expecting to be certainly back for maybe catch the end of pre-season or training camp, and that is a bit of a worry if maybe there's something else underlying. But yeah, Levi, I don't know, I kind of fear the worst.
Yeah, I do. It's just when you don't hear anything, something's wrong. I think they've not said out about Romeo, because I don't think they want to get hopes up, because they knew flat out he wasn't going to be ready. I think because you said the guys who you are hearing about, they are on their way back. You've heard a lot about Jameson, you've heard a lot about Jerry, they're on their way back. You've not heard a lot about the other guys, so it's just I think they know deep down that they're probably not even close. So, yeah, it's disappointing. Hopefully we do hear a bit about them. Hopefully we might see some of them during the bye week. Like I say, from next Monday onwards, I believe, we can start activating guys again, so it'll be interesting to see what happens on that front. But we'll leave this for now. We came to chat Seattle Seahawks preview this evening, so we're going to crack on with that. So we're going to go down little bit. We're going to check the records of the teams first, the betting lines, then we're going to go through Seattle's off-season activity just to see what they've done. Then we're going to get down into some of the major battlegrounds this evening. But I mean, just before we do, Steve, this Seattle game as a whole, now I'm on record as saying, after the Philly game, I said this result only counts if you can go and beat Washington the week after and show that good performance will translate against a team that ain't as good. It did, so I was absolutely fine with week 1. With week 3 against the Vikings, that really annoyed me. However, I can forgive it if they go out this week and they show they've learned their lessons, they've learned all the little mistakes, they're playing better, and they win this game. So for me, this is kind of at a stage where I can't call it a must-win, because, what the hell is a must-win? Are we expecting playoffs? It doesn't, I think you can only call them must-win if you want to get to the playoffs, and I think we all agree we're not quite there just yet, but I feel like this is a game we really do need to win to sort of re-establish our credibility and show that we are still heading in the right direction, because these ain't the Seahawks of recent years. They are very vulnerable at this moment in time. What's your kind of overall feeling about this game and what the Lions really need to do in it?
And so I'm going to do something I rarely do. I'm going to disagree with you. This is a must-win game. This is absolutely a must-win game after the performance last week, because we said that we'd had a really tough game against the Eagles, that and we came up just short, but it was week 1. We were all cool with that. Then we had a game against one of the probably worst 10 teams in the league, in the Commanders, and we showed what we could do and we beat them. And then we had that game against the Vikings, the divisional game, away on the road, but against a team that was bang average. And we had the game there to win and we came up short. Some terrible coaching decisions, some terrible individual errors, and so that puts us in a really tough spot, because as I said when I did my prediction, I think I'd said 7-10, but that was I think I'd got the Giants penciled in as a win. I think I've got the Jaguars penciled in, and considering how those two teams have looked, I'm a lot less confident about that now. So if we can't beat a very, very poor Seattle team in week 4 and a very, very poor Patriots team, probably without Mac Jones, maybe with Brian Hoyer at quarterback in week 5, I think we are looking at 5-11, 4-13, because I can't see we've got like the Jets and the Panthers in week 15 and 16, but the season could be over by then. Like, we've got some really tough matches ahead, and so for me, this is the softest part of our schedule. The Seahawks, the Patriots, the Cowboys after the bye. If we can't pick up 2 wins out of the next 3 games, we are going to be looking at a top 5 pick, and that's not where we want it to be.
I think that's the thing.
I mean, please disagree with me, but
no, I'm not going to disagree. I was about to say I agree. I think if you were to power rank our opponents this season, I think Seattle are a lot lower down that chain now than they were to start. When, like you said, the Giants, the Jags. I think we expected this to be a game that was against a barometer of a very good team. Of a decent team we're playing this season. But if you can beat these, there's a lot of teams below them you can also beat. Whereas now, that doesn't quite look like the case, does it? These look like one of the worst teams left on our schedule, so we kind of have to show that we can go at the teams that have risen above them. I think that where you're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think when we were looking at winnable games, we all picked out probably, beating the Bears at home, beating the Jets, beating the Jags, because, the Jags were in disarray last season, but the Jags, they've had relatively easy fixtures, but they certainly look lively, and Trevor Lawrence looks very lively. The Giants, Saquon Barkley's back, and, we know how flaky our run defense has been at times. So there's a couple of matches there that we'd maybe penciled in to kind of get us to 7-10 or 8-9 or maybe even 9-8 that are looking dodgy. And this Seattle team look, I mean, really, really poor. They don't seem to have. They've not replaced Russell Wilson. Their offense is, other than their 2 receivers, it's pretty mundane, and their defense just is all over the place. So this is, for me, it's got to be a must-win. It's got to be a statement bounce-back win after the Vikings.
I mean, they've just lost at home to the Falcons, and that was kind of I think, a dress rehearsal for the number 1 pick in the draft this year. So it kind of says where they are on the pecking order at this moment in time. They let the Falcons get ahead, and they could never claw their way back in front. So if the Falcons can do it, then we sure as hell can have a go at these. So we'll see. So John Ball in the chat says, sorry for the negativity. Still pissed about last Sunday's game. Don't be. We're all still pissed about last Sunday's game, and we're pissed because we care. That was a winnable game on the road to show this team really meant business, and we threw it away, and that's going to sting for a long time. It just shows the importance of it. I'm still not over it. I was watching the All-22 today of the last few offensive drives when we were trying to run the ball, run the clock down, and the offensive line got beaten so many times on one-on-ones. Ragnar was responsible for some horrible ones, and it just got me angry again. I'm just like, God damn it, we could have won. We really could have won this game, and it's still there a little bit, so don't worry if there's still a bit of negativity floating around. Don't worry, we can still be positive about this weekend, though. So, hey ho. Right, let's talk about the teams a little bit. So, obviously, Seattle Seahawks at Detroit Lions. They are coming to us this time. We travelled to Seattle last season, and probably the less said about that, the better. The Seahawks tanked us 51-29. I think they were like 31-7 up at the half, and DK Metcalf basically just made Will Harris his personal slave for the day, and Rashard Penny just ran for like 200 yards on us as well. It wasn't an impressive performance, but this is a much different Seattle team coming to us this year. So the records are the same. Detroit, as we all know, we are 1-2 on the season. We've lost to the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. The sole win coming against the Washington Commodores. Seattle also 1-2 on the season. So they've had defeats to the San Fran 49ers and the Atlanta Falcons last week. The sole win coming against the Denver Broncos and former quarterback Russell Wilson, which was funny. and it's funny to watch Denver at the minute because they really, really are not good. In terms of Seattle's team, so said they've changed around a little bit, so just going to quickly go through the draft, the free agency and the departures, and we'll have a little chat about them, Steve. So the draft, I actually really liked the Seattle draft this year. So they went first round Charles Cross, the offensive tackle out of Mississippi State. Then they got Boye Mathey, the linebacker / edge hybrid out of Minnesota, personal favourite of mine and Luke G's. Kenneth Walker III, the running back from Michigan State, lots of people going to know about him, he is a beast. Abraham Lucas, the offensive tackle out of Washington State, low-key good draft pick for them that was. Then you've got the cornerback pairing of Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen was a player I absolutely adored last draft because I watched a lot of UTSA in college football last year. He is a baller. Then you got Tyreek Smith, the linebacker, Bo Melton, the wide receiver out of Rutgers, and then you've got Derek Young, the wide receiver out of Lenoir Rhine down in the FCS. In terms of Seahawks free agency, didn't spend a lot of money this year. Highest paid signing was the linebacker Uchenna Nosu from the LA Chargers. They spent 2 years, $19 million on him. You got the defensive tackle Quinton Jefferson from Vegas, 2 years, $9.5 million. They re-signed Rashad Penny and Geno Smith, the quarterback. They signed Austin Blythe, the center from Kansas City, 1 year, $4 million. And familiar face gone there, rinsed us of all our money. Cornerback Justin Coleman came in from Miami. Believe he is playing on the veteran minimum. They also acquired Drew Lock, the quarterback, and tight end Noah Fant, and defensive lineman Shelby Harris via trade from Denver. In terms of the departures, a lot of big ones. Russell Wilson, the quarterback, franchise quarterback, gone. Chris Carson, running back, gone, retired I believe. Linebacker Bobby Wagner, one of the last members of the Super Bowl winning team, gone. Cornerback DJ Reed, gone to the Jets. Left tackle Dwayne Brown, gone. Tight end Gerald Everett, gone. Jamarcus Jones, defensive ends Carlos Dunlap, Kerry Hyder, all gone. This, Steve, is a very different team to what we are facing last year. There's a lot of good talent been brought into this side through the draft, but in terms of experienced, game-changing players, big guys on defense, they are a lot lighter than when we last faced them.
Yeah, and I think you know, I know you're a big student of offensive lines, but Charles Cross, certainly, who was their number one pick, the general feedback seems to be he's not really settled in. I don't know what you think about that, but he's certainly maybe not had the impact in shoring up that line, because obviously Russell Wilson got chased around in his last season, and it, you know, I think Geno Smith may be coming into a bad situation because he's still getting pressured a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I agree. I think the thing is they have struggled, but the trouble is him and Lucas are both starting, so both their tackles are kids fresh out of college. You got a centre who's on the 1 year deal from Kansas. This is a very vulnerable, talented but vulnerable offensive line. John Ball asks, he says, Steve, Antony, can we get to their QB this week? I can live with we get burned a couple of times if we blitz most of the time. Well, we'll break down into the positional battle soon. I'm going to do the offensive line against the defensive line and vice versa, so we will chat about it, but the general feeling is yes, if we can't blitz this quarterback, then we're in a lot of bother. I mean, a lot of veteran talent gone though. I mean, you talk about what's coming in, but obviously Russell Wilson, the big one. Carson, running back, obviously good on his day, but injured all the time. But that defense has taken a hit. You know, especially the edge rushing group, Carlos Dunlap, Kerry Hyder, big names in there. Bobby Wagner, leader of the defense, gone. Seems like, I know their defense hasn't been that good. It started historically bad the last few years, but still, those are guys who can make plays on the day, and it can be very good. But you know, this team is weaker this year, isn't it? A lot weaker than when we last faced them.
It's a weaker team, and then you've obviously got their kind of star in the defensive backfield, Jamal Adams. I think he's out for the season on injured reserve. So that's a huge blow, absolutely huge. And you know the Seahawks have really struggled to stop the run this season, and there's definitely a lot of vulnerable points for them, and the Lions should be licking their lips on offense going against this lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I've been ignoring Twitch chat a bit. Derek Barracks joined in there. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I will keep checking. So if you've got any messages or questions or anything, whack them in there and we'll check. But yeah, I agree. This team is not what it was last season, and it really is there to be had. But I think in the future, I think in 2 or 3 years, some of these players they could be really good. And it's very odd, isn't it, that they've invested so much in the offensive line this year, when for years they've kind of let Russell Wilson just be killed all the time. It seems a very odd strategy by them, doesn't it? Spend 2 of your top 3 picks on tackles this year, the year you let them go.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously they brought in Drew Lock, and that just seems to have been a disaster. Or that they're just, he's obviously not. They've obviously not been able to salvage something from Drew Lock as the make weight in the deal. So you've then got Geno Smith, who has had a pretty uninspirational career, and he's just miles off the quality of Wilson. But then you've got 2 of the best, probably one of the best receiving combos in the NFC, in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So it just doesn't, as rebuilds go, this doesn't seem to be well thought out. It doesn't seem like they've committed to the rebuild. It seems they've kind of tried to do a patch job in terms of the roster, but we can see how it's starting to fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going. I think we all knew they were probably going to be picking high this year, and I mean, if they lose this weekend against us, I think they definitely are going to be picking high this year. Let's delve down into the teams a little bit more. Grandizer, I've seen you mentioning about Megan. Megan is hopefully going to be with us on Monday for the review. Trying to sort out a podcast time between here and Australia is an absolute nightmare because it's a 12-hour difference, so not had a chance to get one sorted in such a short amount of time. So she should be with us on Monday. I'm going to do a separate podcast with her, and I'll bite the time difference on that one. So on Monday you'll see us with Megan. So I apologise we can't do it this evening. I've just been so busy sorting all these shows out with Matt still in America that I've just not had time to properly devote to it. But yeah, you should hopefully see her with us on Monday. Right, so where were we? The injury reports going into this week. Well, aren't these a big old barrel of laughs? We've had the Thursday one out, thankfully, so we can discuss it so far. The Lions banged up, obviously. We had 10 guys not practicing yesterday. We've still got 9 on PUP. It's just like everybody is carrying an injury. But as of Thursday, so not practicing today, running back DeAndre Swift, wide receiver DJ Chark, wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, guard Jonah Jackson, defensive lineman John Kaminsky. I don't know why he's put on these reports because they said he's going to be out for weeks. And then kicker, or, that's very generous calling him a kicker, so we'll just call him Austin Cyber on there as well. Practicing today after missing Wednesday, though, Josh Reynolds, wide receiver, tight end TJ Hawkinson, center Frank Ragnow, who had a rest day, linebacker Chris Board, cornerback Bobby Price. That's a lot of beaten up people, Steve, and our 2 big playmakers still not practicing for this week.
Yeah, it's concerning. I think we know. We've got Craig Reynolds as a capable backup, certainly for Swift. He's not DeAndre Swift, but you would certainly hope that he would try and make an impact alongside Jamal Williams. But I think St. Brown is obviously the biggest concern. I would say out of those names, just because he's been so consistent for us and just able to get separation, get open, and be a target for Goff. And I think Jonah Jackson we think is probably a week away, but it's hard to say. It really is.
Isn't it just annoying? They said with Jonah Jackson, he got his finger stuck in his, one of his teammates' gear. It's like, I didn't have that one in our 2022 bingo card. Jonah Jackson out injured because he fingered his colleague's uniform. But, here we go. It's silly, isn't it? He's got his finger caught in a uniform, just a snap. What are the odds of that happening? Like 1 in a million or something stupid like that? And
not if you play for the Lions.
Well, no, apparently your odds go up exponentially of getting weird injuries if you play for the Lions. But yeah, it's not great.
I think 7 of our starting offense is missing practices. That's really concerning, because the offense has been, I wouldn't say humming, but it's been pretty lively throughout the last 3 games. And like I said, we need to get after this Seattle defense. So yeah, worrying.
So I'm going to put a statement out there, and I just want you to say true or false to this one. So, in my opinion, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he is out and he's not playing, this could be a good thing, because it brings TJ Hockenson and DJ Chark into the game, because they've been getting ignored.
Have they been getting ignored, or have they just not been getting open?
I think they're getting phased out. Herman Moore reckons TJ is getting phased out. And obviously DJ. We target Amon-Ra so much. So sometimes in absentium of these guys, you've got to spread the load out again. So maybe guys who've not been getting the looks, a la Chark, a la Hawk, they might sort of step up now and fill that void whilst he's resting. I think that could be I'm not saying it's a good thing Amon-Ra's out. Obviously it's not a good thing, but opportunity knocks.
I don't understand why we would try and phase Hockenson out. Like, surely, if we were going to trade him, round about, I don't know, November time, why wouldn't we put him out there and, get him in the shop window? Like, that just doesn't. That seems counterintuitive to me. And also, I just don't think Hockenson has been getting open. I've just not seen it from him. I've not seen that Goff's overlooking him. And also, they're not really. Brock Wright's had the odd catch, but he's not really been brought in for too many snaps. So I kind of don't buy that.
But that's what I mean. None of the Titans have been getting targeted. It's not like TJ's blown it and other Titans are getting targeted. It just doesn't seem to be a thing that we're doing right now. It seems to be a lot of we're run heavy, or we're finding Amon-Ra a lot, or Goff's taking a few shots. That's not really TJ's thing. He would have had a bit, but I don't know. I just feel like opportunity knocks here. If you have to run this offense without Amon-Ra a bit, you stop the offense becoming too dependent on him. I think is my point.
I mean, we've definitely not seen enough of Shark, and I'm sure he's got more to offer. So, and maybe that's to do with the scheme. Maybe they're using him as a distraction over the top to sort of take away a safety and to give Amon-Ra more space inside. I don't know, but Shark definitely should be stepping up and making some big chunk plays.
Yeah, exactly. And the running backs need to step up as well. Jamal has got 4 rushing touchdowns this season now. He's shown that he can do it in absence of Swift. You've got Jackson back there. You've got Craig Reynolds. You can still call up Jamar Jefferson again. I think we've got the running room power to do that as well. So
I thought they would use the running backs more, give them some receiving, give them some targets. But I know Jamal Williams has had a couple of drops.
He's had bad drops. I think the trust's gone with him there now, and Craig's never really been that sort of guy. I guess Jamar would be your last chance now, but he's still on practice at the minute, so. Yeah, the injury list is concerning, but we will see. Obviously, Frank hopefully is back for this. TJ's ready and willing to go because he's got to stay healthy. So, few injuries for Detroit to deal with there. In terms of Seattle, well, this is just like the Vikings last week. Their list is significantly less than ours. So, this is from yesterday because I've not seen the updated one from today as of yet, but they work West Coast time, so I think it comes out later anyhow. So, did not practice. 3 guys. Gabe Jackson, the guard, but he was on a veteran rest day. Cornerback Justin Coleman, our old friend, our old frenemy from under Patricia. He's got a calf injury, he didn't practice. And the defensive end Shelby Harris got a glute injury, but I saw an interview with Pete Carroll today. He said he should be ready to go for this. I think he might just be resting as well. Limited participation, wide receiver Marquise Goodwin, he's got a knee issue, and safety Joey Blount. I think they got him from Virginia in the draft either this year or last year. I think it was Last year, sorry, they got him. He's got hamstring issue. However, on the injured reserve list, they do have a few guys as well. So you've got the defensive end, Alton Robinson, cornerback Trey Brown, running back Travis Homer, safety Jamal Adams, obviously the big one, the line snapper, long snapper Tyler Ott, cornerback John Reed, defensive end LJ Collier, linebacker Tyreek Smith, wide receiver Cody Thompson, linebacker John Rattigan, all on injured reserve or out of this one already with multi-week injuries. So not quite as bad as ours. There are a few big names on there, but for the most part they're not dealing with anywhere near as many injuries as we are.
No, definitely not. But yeah, I maybe think maybe our roster's a bit deeper than theirs. Because it does feel like they do have quite a few holes, which I'm sure we're going to talk about shortly.
Yeah. There are definitely some holes in here. So right, we've done it. We've gone through the game, the injuries, how people line up. So we're going to go through some of the battlegrounds for this evening now. And I always start off the battleground series with the trenches because that's our bread and butter, or it is supposed to be at least. Anyhow, so we take a look at the Seattle offensive line. Good God, I'm saying line a lot this evening. Left tackle Charles Cross. He has played all possible snaps so far this season. He is graded 60 by PFF. He's given up 8 pressures, including 3 sacks and 5 quarterback hurries. Left guard, they've split between 2 guys because of injury. So Damian Lewis was the starter of the season. He's had 90 snaps, graded 53, just 1 quarterback hurry given up. Phil Haynes, who's been brought in relief of him and possibly might play again this weekend. I'm not sure. Lewis is a bit dinged up. 85 snaps, graded 43 by PFF. He's given up 5 pressures, including 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit and 3 quarterback hurries. The center, Austin Blythe, who they brought in from Kansas, he's played all snaps, graded 39 by PFF. He's given up 4 pressures, including 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits and a quarterback hurry. Right guard, Gabe Jackson, he has played all snaps this year, graded 51, 13 pressures given up, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits and 10 quarterback hurries. And then the right tackle, Abraham Lucas, played all snaps this year, graded 62, 7 pressures given up, 3 quarterback hits and 4 quarterback hurries. So out of this team, only DK Metcalf and Will Dissly are run blocking over a 65 grade. They've had trouble running the ball. The team altogether has given up 7 sacks, 9 quarterback hits and 27 quarterback hurries on the season. I mean, going through this, Steve, you've got 2 rookie tackles, and then that interior, the left guard has been doing alright, but he's dinged up at the minute. The centre, the right guard and the left guard in relief, they've been hemorrhaging pressure at this moment in time. So this is a line that is vulnerable and needs to be exploited. If we're going to say that Aiden is alright having a slow start this season, which I totally agree with, that's fine. You've got 2 rookie tackles, you've got to go out there and make their life hell. They can't have an elite game against us.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't buy that Hutchinson was healthy last week. I just think the drop-off between weeks 2 and 3 would just seem so great. I mean, Christian Darrisaw, who, I'm not sure is one of the great left tackles in the league, but he just absolutely dominated Hutchinson and Charles Harris to a certain extent. So I'm just hoping that Hutch has had time to get healthy. I'm slightly concerned that Brockers seems to be drifting into anonymity again. Aleem McNeil has been okay. I don't know. I think Aaron Glenn needs to light a few fires and get them absolutely up for this, because they're definitely vulnerable.
Well, this is the trouble. I did this with the Minnesota Vikings last week. A lot of the pressure from that team came through the interior, the centre and the 2 guards. Exactly the same problem the Seahawks have at this moment this year. And Minnesota, we catapulted their offensive line to the top of the rankings last week. We were that bad. And they were that good against us. It's just kind of like, right, this is the situation. You have two brand new rookie tackles who will be playing in their fourth game each in the NFL, and you have an interior offensive line which is leaking pressure and is not good. There is no excuse, and I mean zero excuse, for this team who has invested in its defensive line and its edge rushers, etc., to get pressure in this one, is there?
Absolutely not.
No, I fully believe in that. And just to switch it round, so we'll look at the Detroit defensive line, who's going to be going up against them. I've only put the starters in here because we go on forever, but obviously Aiden Hutchinson, he's grading 55 this year, 11 pressures on the season, 3 sacks, a quarterback hit, 7 quarterback hurries. He's got 4 tackles, 2 missed tackles, and 5 stops in the run game. Charles Harris, he's grading 50 currently, 8 pressures on the season, a sack, 3 quarterback hits and 4 quarterback hurries, 10 tackles, 5 stops, and obviously the forced fumble which caused the safety against Washington. Aleem McNeil having a decent year, grading 66, 6 pressures on the season. He's got a quarterback hit, 5 quarterback hurries, 4 tackles, 3 stops in the run game. He's grading out decent against the run as well. And then Michael Brockers, he's grading at 54, just 2 pressures on this season, a single quarterback hit and a solitary quarterback hurry. He's got 2 tackles, 2 stops, 1 pass batted down. Detroit, all told, have 68 pressures on the season through 3 games. That's 7 sacks, 17 quarterback hits, 44 quarterback hurries. And to put it into perspective, we had 200 through 70 games last year. 17. So we're about a sixth of the way there, and we're already, well over a quarter of the way to get into this. So we're getting pressure, but we need to translate it into finished product this week against the line that's probably going to be one of the worst that we face. With no disrespect to those rookie tackles, I like them both, but they're rookies and you've got to expose them.
Yeah, I think also we need to take a look at Austin Bryant and Julian Okwara, because we shouldn't be putting all of our focus on the starting 4. Like, the whole point of having that kind of squad and having specialist pass rushers and all of the kind of chat about them in camp and pre-season, and there's been, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's been very little impact in the 3 games that from those 2.
Austin's been, well, hang on, no, that's a lie. Julian, 2 weeks ago in the Washington win, he had the highest pass rush win rate in the league. It was 38%. He had 5 pressures in a reduced role. But last week, nothing on 13 pressures against the Vikings. He came up with nothing. Austin Bryant had 11 pass rush sets last week, had 2 pressures on the quarterback, but just pressures, no solitary. So between the 2 of them last week, they were 2 pressures of 24, and Austin Bryant got them both. So yeah, the depth guys need to stand up as well. I fully agree with you on this one. You've got to overwhelm this offensive line. If someone put it in the chat earlier, I think you have to kind of accept the fact you might get burnt by Metcalf and Lockett once or twice, but the reward for being aggressive in this will be a lot higher, because, like I say, these are rookie tackles working against not like senior offensive linemen next to them. One's a 1-year rental, one guard's dinged and come in as a replacement, so it's not like you've got a real leader on that offensive line to steady the rookies when things start getting tough. You saw it against the Falcons game, that last drive against the Falcons. They just, Geno Smith kept getting sacked, the pressure got ramped up and they couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, and let's not forget that we've had Jalen Hurts in week 1. Geno Smith is not Jalen Hurts. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's a bang average quarterback with limited mobility. And the key, if we don't believe in our secondary and that we've seen the problems Amani had last week, we've got to get to the quarterback. We can't allow him time for Tyler Lockett to get 25 yards down the field and get open. Like, we have to get to him. And Geno Smith is not that mobile, so we need to throw the kitchen sink at them in terms of blitzing. Aaron Glenn absolutely needs to dial up some nuclear missiles and rain them down on that offensive line. There's just no excuse.
Yeah, I agree. You've got to commit this week to the aggressive scheme that you're going with. So I really hope he does that. But as far as I'm concerned, this should be a match in our favour. That offensive line is vulnerable and ready to be had. The running backs aren't particularly run blocking well either, or pass protecting well. I think Penny's like grading at like 8 with his pass protection. So there's opportunity knocks for your running backs. So your defensive line. So be aggressive. Go all out for it there. Oh, we've got a few people in the chat, a few bits. Lady Lion 20's joined in. She goes, good show. Do you think Armani will be replaced by Jerry Jacobs when he comes back? I mean, I don't think so right away. I think they'll be slow bringing Jerry back from a torn ACL. I think he will. Remember Iffy last year when he came back off his injury? I think he had 2 or 3 games where he saw limited snaps. Then he got a starting role. I feel like Jerry will be the same. You'll see a few snaps, a few rotations in, but you won't see out serious for a few weeks really with him, will you?
I mean, do you know what I want to see? I want to see Armani come back this week. Like, you know, it would be unfair to say he single-handedly lost us the game last week, but his performance was really poor. He was targeted. He gave up loads of yards. He gave up 6 penalties. They were absolutely picking on him. And I just want to see him come back and make a statement. Like, you know, he's got a big job to do this week. He's probably going to be on Tyler Lockett. Absolutely lock him up. And yeah, like, we shouldn't put too much pressure on Jerry Jacobs. You know, we absolutely don't want him coming back too soon or, you know, taking too many snaps. So, Armani, you've got a job to do. Get on with it.
I mean, if I had my way, I'd have Iffy back in the starting role opposite Okuda this week. I don't want him anywhere near safety. I'd start Iffy, but you know, they'll not do that. They seem committed to making him at safety. I definitely wouldn't have, and I've forgotten his name, Ryan's favourite Sun Devils cornerback. He's got Chase Lucas. I would have Chase Lucas active this week and seeing serious snaps. With Armani, I've said, you pull Logan Stenberg for bad performance after 2 games, you have to do it with everybody. So I think Armani should be pulled this week. I don't think he should start. If you're going to tell Logan Stenberg that even after 2 good games run blocking, the pass protection's not good enough, you're going to get benched. You've got to do the same to Armani.
Who's going to start? Will Harris, Mike Hughes? I mean, it's not a great set of options.
I'd rotate it round. Start someone and then maybe ride the hot hand. I know it's your favourite thing, but I would maybe give it a go. But I think you've set an example to Logan Stenberg now that bad performance will not be tolerated. I think you have to follow through with Armani. Otherwise, other guys will look at that and go, well, why is he not getting benched for bad performance, but Logan is? I just think you have to be consistent with these sort of things, so I would not start him at all. John, just quickly mention, are you going to the Vikings game this weekend? I'm not. No, I don't think any of us. I think Matt's away, and I think everyone's going to some of the later games. So no, we're not going this week, but you know, hopefully Kirk Cousins gets sacked 1 billion times and we can laugh at him on TV over here. So yeah.
When I looked at the London games, I thought, the Vikings Saints is probably like the best game out of the lot. That was a bad call because now that game looks like it could absolutely stink.
Yeah, now you've got the Red Rifle versus Kirk Cousins. What a advert for the NFL, sending over 2 of its biggest guns at quarterback. Even if it was Jameis, it'd be like, meh, you know.
That'd be like Justin Fields against Mitch Trubisky.
Germany's getting Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. It's like, that's a little unfair, but I guess market's big in Germany. So, right, let's move it on. So we've talked about the Seattle offensive line against the Detroit defensive line. We think Detroit should have a lot of success there. But let's flip the script now. So the Detroit offensive line, I'm going to assume that Jonah Jackson ain't playing this week. So I think we're probably going to see the same 5 as before. Frank is scheduled to play. He just got a vet rest day yesterday. I think he is training again today. So Taylor Decker, left tackle, played all snaps this season, grading 66. He's given up 7 pressures on the season, including 3 quarterback hits and 4 quarterback hurries. No sacks though. His run blocking grade is 56. Dan Skipper at left guard, 139 snaps this season, grading 58. 6 pressures given up, including 1 sack, 5 quarterback hurries, but the run block grade is a bit better at 62. Frank Ragnow, 147 snaps this season, grading at 56. 0 pressures allowed on the season because he's just a man mountain who don't let no one get to his quarterback. grading at 58 in the run game. Evan Brown at right guard, he's seen 139 snaps, a mixture of centre and right guard, grading 57, 3 pressures including 3 quarterback hurries, so he's not actually given up a single hit on the quarterback as of yet. Grading 55 in the run game. And then Penei Sewell, who's just the all-conquering, all-dominant, best right tackle in the NFL by a long stretch at this moment in time. Every snap played this season, he's grading at 80, 6 pressures given up, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, 3 quarterback hurries. His run blocking grade is 86. In all, Detroit have given up 37 pressures on the quarterback this year. That's 4 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, and 22 quarterback hurries. Quite a few of those belong to Logan Stenberg. What do you make of the offensive line this year? I mean, it's had injuries in there. The run game has looked good in parts, but I ain't gonna lie, I was disappointed with it last week. I know that we protected Jared Goff really well, and I think we only gave up 1 quarterback hit all game. We brought in, obviously, Evan Brown for the pass protection aspect of it, but the run game, especially at the end when we really needed it, it didn't deliver.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Vikings have got one of the better defensive lines in the NFL, and probably, you know, I mean, we saw what they did against the Commanders when we absolutely dominated for most of it. So I think they were up against a tough unit last week. I've kind of been pretty pleased with them. Like, I just think last week it was maybe some of the play calling rather than, you know, the lack of run blocking that caused things. And also, I don't think Swift was fit. Like, I really just don't think he was anywhere near like his prime. So I'm going to give the O-line a pass last week. And the fact that Goff has been consistently good, consistently pretty well protected, you know, I'm looking for a good performance from them this week. And I think they will absolutely bounce back.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think overall it's been good. I mean, obviously you bring in Evan Brown for the pass protection to shore up where Logan Stenberg was leaking lots and lots of pressures through, and, you know, can't deny that it was bad in some areas with him, but it did come at a cost. It did come at a little bit of a cost, I'm not going to lie. So
I would say the O-line, they're the least of our problems.
Oh, no, I agree. But obviously you want them to do well. I mean, again, is this maybe a matchup where we are going to get some positivity this week? So I say, you know, this is a lot less pressures than we gave up last year. So you're giving up, 4 sacks in 3 games. That's really not too bad. You've got 11 hits. What's that? 4 a game. So you're giving up sort of 1 sack, 4 QB hits a game at the minute, and about 5 hurries. I guess you've come up against the Eagles' D-line. You've come up against Washington's D-line, which is pretty decent. And like you say, Minnesota's D-line, which is pretty decent. So all in all, probably 3 of the better ones. So, no, we have managed to keep things to a 10. But it's not all on the offensive line pressure-wise. A lot of this has been tight ends and running backs and stuff like that as well. So,
yeah, and I think we're just coming on to the Seahawks D-line, but, you know, you've got, I think, Uchenna Nwosu, who's 10th overall PFF grade in terms of edge rusher, and you would hope that someone like Saul could firmly put him in his pocket. So yeah, I think that's probably like the key matchup.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll go through it now. So Seattle overall on this season, they've got 38 pressures on the year. This is the entire defense. 6 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, and 22 hurries. Probably not far away the stats of what our O-line have given up on the entire season, really. So they're not getting... Bear in mind, we've got 68 pressures. They've got 38. That shows you just how little pass rush they are getting compared to this. And you mentioned it right there. So out of those 38 pressures, 13 of them belong to one guy. That's Uchenna Nwosu. That's the guy they spent money on this off-season. He has 13 total pressures. He's got a sack, 5 quarterback hits, 7 quarterback hurries. He's got a couple of battered down passes as well, so he gets up at the line, drags those low balls out the sky. You've got 11 tackles, 5 stops in the run game, 5 run stuffs, One forced fumble from him. I mean, geez, he's been an absolute monster for them. Boye Mafe, the guy they drafted from Minnesota this year, he's played 61 snaps, so he's only been a rotational guy so far. He's only got 2 pressures, but he does have a sack. He does have a quarterback hurry. He's got 6 tackles and 6 stops in the run game as well. And then after that, you have, in terms of the line there, a lot of guys switching in and out. Shelby Harris hasn't played much. He's just got 1 quarterback hit on the year. You've got, where is he? He's right down near the bottom. Darrell Taylor in there. He's got 4 pressures on the year, a sack, a quarterback hit, 2 hurries. But overall, after Nwosu, the next guy who's got most pressures is 6. That's Quinton Jefferson, another one of the free agent signings. He's got a sack and 5 quarterback hurries on the year. So in terms of pressure, they're not getting much. They're averaging less than 13 a game, which is not really a great amount there. And as I say, not much productivity either with sacks. They're only averaging 2 sacks a game. And, that's playing against Atlanta's offensive line last week. They haven't been going against the creme de la creme of offensive lines. I mean, this should be another matchup we should fancy a lot, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think this is definitely, a big potential area where we can dominate. And you look away from Nwosu, and I took a quick dip into the murky world of Seattle Twitter, and there's a lot of displeasure at their D line. Darrell Taylor's getting a lot of heat for just not turning up. Poona Ford apparently is having like his worst year for a long time. So yeah, I don't think we should fear this lot, not at all. I think we can definitely dominate here, and we can definitely open up some run lanes. And yeah, you would hope that this is something that the coaches are going to absolutely exploit.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't look the greatest in there in terms of the edge rush. The run defense is not the best in the world either. There's 2 guys grading above 80. You've got one of them's our own Michael Jackson, the cornerback. He's had 3 snaps, but in terms of the starters, a lot of them are grading really bad when it comes to the run defense. A lot of well down into the 40s. Poona Ford, Quinton Jefferson, Cody Barton, Kobe Bryant, Darrell Taylor. You've got Shelby Harris. You've got Justin Coleman, shock horror, not good against the run there. So there are opportunities to be had here in terms of the secondary when it comes to coverage. I mean, in fairness, they've given up 57 receptions on 81 targets. It's 70%. I mean, compared to your average team, I suppose that's not too bad. I mean, Tariq Woolen's been the standout here. Targeted 12 times, only given up 6 receptions. Michael Jackson, like I say, our old guy, 11 targets, just 5 receptions given up there. The ones who've been struggling, the linebackers. The linebackers are really, really bad in coverage, and that's a problem that we know all too well here going forward with the Lions. So I think this is the case. I feel like the defensive line and the linebackers are where you go here. Don't necessarily drop too deep, because Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen are very good. You've got Quandre Diggs sniffing around back there as well. It's a case of, I think, don't go too deep, attack them up front, attack that middle part of the field and really get the yardage and take those good secondary players out of the equation.
I mean, I think with performances like that, Michael Jackson really needs to take a long, hard look at the man in the mirror.
Oh my God, that's a thing Matt would... No, that's an Ash thing to say, actually. Steve, you've fallen. I expect better from you. It's us 2 on a show here. I'm expecting top quality premium jokes on this one, so... He just needs to make the change. Jesus Christ. Oh God! You know what? Where am I? What am I doing? I've forgotten now.
Can I just say though, my one fear, and this is the kind of like Darius Slay factor, is you just wonder whether Diggs is going to have an absolute game for them against us. Like it would just be our luck.
You've got to just play away from him, like the Vikings did against Jeffrey Okudah last week. Just play away from him. Find out where he's at on the field, and then go from there. I think I have to agree with that one. In terms of them against our secondary, we've talked about this here. So We've been targeted 100 times. We've given up 72 receptions, an exact 72% reception complete. It's just a shade more than what Seattle have done, but not really much in there. Amani giving up 14 catches on 19 targets. Mike Hughes giving up 13 on 17. There's some bad ones in there, but I mean, you look around the rest of it, and a lot of the guys have been doing well. Even Will Harris, he has only 4 receptions on 7 targets against him. Jeff, 12 on 17, but he's not giving away much yardage in there. Couple of pass breakups in there as well. We only got 3 pass breakups on the season. Not something we really do a great deal of there, but it's a case of, I think we need to do what we did last week. I mean, this secondary, how would you match him up against the receivers this week? Obviously, I'm putting Okudah straight on DK Metcalf. I don't care how much trash DK will talk about him. I think the way... Because the best thing about Jeff this year is his aggression at the line of scrimmage. He has been really aggressive against wide receivers. Justin Jefferson looked like he was glad to get off the pitch against him because he was just pushing him, shoving him, pulling all over the place, legally, within the box, off the line of scrimmage, really unsettling him. I think Jeff's got to be the one who goes up against DK because at the end of the day, he is special, he is strong, and you need to put your biggest asset up against him there.
I mean, DK Metcalf is decent. He's a good wide receiver one, but I think Justin Jefferson's much better, and I think Okudah can dominate him. I don't see why not. I really don't. Maybe Metcalf's a little bit more physical than Jefferson, but yeah. And the way that Okudah played last week, he's not going to be our problem. It's our CB2 that's going to be the problem. And yeah, I mean, what are the options? Will Harris, Mike Hughes... I mean, it is concerning, and I think this is where Tracy Walker. If Tracy Walker was on the pitch, you would absolutely expect Walker to be shadowing the CB2 and making sure that Lockett had double coverage. And I'm just not sure with obviously the safety situation which we've not talked about. It looks like there's going to be a 3-way battle for Tracy Walker's spot between Iffy. Who else?
Juju and Kirby.
Juju, Kirby Joseph. So it just feels like a bit of a mess.
So let's talk about it. Who would you put him out of those 3? If he's just back from injury, Kirby's a raw rookie, and Juju, with all due respect to Juju, is a depth player who really probably shouldn't be starting. It's got
to be iffy. It's absolutely got to be iffy. But you've got to just take the gamble.
Yeah, I would think as much as I hate it, I loathe the thought of Iffy being a safety because I want him as an outside corner, but I would agree. I think Iffy played against DK last year. Now, DK burned him for a touchdown, but later in the game, you saw Iffy react to it, and he had a couple of breakups. He had a couple of good plays against DK. So, I mean, hell, why not double up Iffy and Okudah on DK? They will give him a lot of trouble, I feel, especially, because it's not like if he's just fresh back over. He's been fit for a few weeks now, training for a few weeks, so hopefully he should be able to come back into a game situation and hit the ground sort of running. So I would put Iffy in as a second guy as well. I'm with you on that, but I would not have Amani on the pitch one bit. They stick Tyler Lockett on him, then, good God. That speed, you're going to have holding calls flying before the game even starts. I just feel like you've got to risk it with someone else. Bring Chase Lucas in. Chase Lucas is also aggressive at the line of scrimmage. See what he can do. If he struggles, then pull him out, put Amani back in. But at least let Amani have to wait to get back in there and want it, and show him that there are consequences for not playing well. I don't know if you agree with that.
I mean, this is it. It's like you can't give someone the chance for redemption. Until they've had some snaps to prove it, but at the same time, there should be consequences for a bad performance. I'm just not sure we're in the position to kind of allow those consequences to happen, because I do not want to see Mike Hughes against Tyler Lockett. So I think it's a difficult call, but yeah, I think for me it's got to be iffy.
So we'll quickly look. We've mentioned the secondary, so here's who they're coming up against. Obviously, Geno Smith. So on the year, his completion percentage is 77.5%. Actually quite high. 717 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Half of those passing yards came against the Falcons. He was sub 200 yards against the Broncos and the 49ers. Like I say, it's a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, so it ain't nothing to write home about. In terms of receivers, Tyler Lockett leads the way, 211 yards, but no touchdowns. DK Metcalf has 135 yards and 1 touchdown. Colby Parkinson, in fact it's tight ends the next 3. Colby Parkinson has 87 and a touchdown. Will Dissly has 77 and 2 touchdowns. Noah Fant has 54 yards, no touchdowns. Marquise Goodwin has 53 yards, no touchdowns. I mean, I think you see there, through 3 games, Metcalf and Lockett and Smith are struggling to adapt to one another, and I think, if you pressure Geno in this one, hopefully you can make that run continue at least one more week.
Yeah, I mean, Metcalf's made some big catches. His first touchdown pass last week was an incredible catch. And Geno put the ball just in the right place. But, I think the Seahawks have been a bit guilty about spreading the targets around too many pass catchers. I think they had 10 different pass catchers last week. And it just doesn't seem that Metcalf being involved enough. And it's not just Metcalf. I think Noah Fant so far this season has had 6 targets, 5 catches and 27 yards. I mean, that's not great productivity. No,
it's not. As I say, you list that off there after DK and Tyler. It's just tight ends. He's throwing to tight ends. Those short passes over the middle, they're not really hitting downfield a hell of a lot with him, which I guess is understandable because his deep ball's not really great. I know, it's been said in the chat he's playing well. Steve-O says Geno's playing pretty good. And you know what? For the position he's in, he's playing decent. He's keeping the ball. He's not turning it over too much. I mean, I know he's got 2 picks and a fumble on the year, so, it is there to be had. If you can pressure him, mistakes are there to be made and to be had with him, so you've got to do that. And the big thing here with these guys, the rushing attack. So Rashad Penny, he leads the way, 141 yards on 32 carries, no touchdowns. They don't have a rushing touchdown this year, which is weird. They've got 4 passes.
That's incredible for the Seahawks. That's absolutely incredible.
So Rashad Penny, 141 yards, no touchdowns. The next guy after that, Kenneth Walker, 7 attempts for 29 yards. DJ Dallas, 3 attempts, 21 yards. Travis Homer, who's not playing, 4 attempts, 18 yards. They are averaging 4.1 yards per carry on 55 attempts this season. That's it. And they've got 2 fumbles to their name as well. No rushing touchdowns. This is not a good running attack. This goes back to their offensive line. I told you, their 2 best run blockers this year are a wide receiver and a tight end. They're the only ones who are graded over 60. So here's kind of your route to victory. If you're trying to think how you're going to do this, you stop that run game. Rashad Penny killed us last year for nearly 180 odd yards or whatever it was. You stunt this line, stunt that run game, then Geno Smith, he can't win a game on his arm alone. He has to have a run game with that, but no rushing touchdowns this season. The precedent has been set. If the Falcons can stop him running in a touchdown, then we damn sure have to.
Yeah, but I mean, let's not forget that, we made Rashad Penny look like, season 1 Saquon, last season. Penny had absolutely nothing, and we just let him run on us.
Oh no, he was in the middle of his hot form when he got to us. I think he'd had 2 big games before he reached us, and we were just the cream on the top, as it were. But don't forget, you got Russell Wilson in there as well. When you've got a quarterback who can do that sort of damage, it opens up your run game more, because you don't know whether he's going to hand it off or whatnot. Geno Smith is not Russell Wilson, and this offensive line, whilst they've put him back up for it, it's not good. I mean, well, look, like I say, the stats say there, 224 yards on 55 carries, 4.1 yards a carry, no touchdowns, 2 fumbles. That is their rushing attack this year. The Falcons can stop that. We can stop that. So I 100% want us to be on top of that. In terms of Detroit, we'll just go through our offense because we've mentioned their secondary. It's the secondary is really good. I've seen a lot of love for Tariq Woolen in the chat. I fully agree with you. Tariq was one of the best corners in college football last year, and I kind of low-key wish we'd got him at some point. Our rushing attack, on the other hand, has been very good. 84 carries, 511 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, just the 1 fumble from Jared Goff there. Their run defense is not good. The only part of this defense that is good is the red zone defense, which is a problem we're going to have to work out. But I would expect us to have another strong game here against the Runks. Again, that defensive line ain't grading highly against it, and these teams who played have got a lot of yards on them so far. Yeah,
and I mean, they've not replaced Bobby Wagner. They've not replaced Jamal Adams. I mean, they are very vulnerable down the middle. And it's just a shame that it looks like Swift's going to miss this game, because you would expect him to absolutely have a game like he did against the Commanders. But, maybe it's good that he's going to take a couple of games out and get fully healthy. But this Seattle middle of the field is absolutely there for the taking.
Oh yeah, 100%. I said last week could be a TJ game. I feel like this week could be a TJ game as well. Our receivers, Amon-Ra, of course, leads the way. 253 yards and 3 touchdowns. We might be without him. Josh Reynolds is next. 162 yards and a touchdown. DJ Chark, 98 yards, a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson, 82 yards and a touchdown. And DeAndre Swift, 77 yards and a touchdown. We have 748 passing yards on the season so far through 3 games. So we're going at what? 280? About 280 a click there. 250, 260. Not too bad, not great, but
who's counting?
Who's counting? It's better than what they're doing. So, I expect us to do win this. So, are there any other points of this team you want to mention? I've tried to go through it in a way that sort of breaks down all the little side-to-side bits that we're banking on here. I mean, is there anything else you want to mention about the Seahawks before we look at predictions and routes to win, etc.?
I'm just trying to think if the Seahawks have got any special teams, anything notable. I can't even think who's their kicker. Who's the Seahawks kicker? We should know this, shouldn't we?
Well, it's a kind of a thing where I've got all this stuff here. Special teams is the one. Special teams is the one thing I haven't done. In terms of their special teams, shock horror, Michael Jackson, top of the list. He used to be here as well. Tariq Woolen actually grading out really high for them there as well. Then, the special teams grades seem pretty decent for them this season at the moment. They've got 8 tackles, 2 assisted tackles, 4 missed tackles, so they're not too bad when it comes to that. I should have really got the kicking up here.
I mean, Michael Jackson being top ranked. You seem surprised, and I can tell you're not alone.
Well, right. So special teams. Jason Myers, 5 of 5 on point after attempts, 4 of 4 on field goals. He's perfect on the season. He's not had anything above 50 yards at this point in time yet, though. And then when it comes to punting, well, we have the best punter in the world, so it doesn't really matter here. What's he doing? Michael Dixon, 9 attempts, 452 yards. Net is 46, so 46. It's okay. 5 of them have been returned for 32 yards. 2 went out of bounds, and I can't remember. Yeah, it seems okay. It's not anything to write home about. So
yeah. So yeah. I mean, for me, we've not really talked about Jared Goff yet. Do we need to take 2 minutes out to talk about Jared Goff?
You know what I should have? I was talking about Geno Smith first. So Jared Goff on the year. I've got his stats on this paper somewhere. I mean, I know it might be controversial, but I actually like what Goff's been doing this year. So, completion 58.9%. So, something to be resolved on that one. The completion's not great. Although he had his best game against the Vikings in regards to that. 748 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. A lot better ratio than last year. He was basically 2-1 last season. He's nearly 4-1 this season when it comes to touchdowns. Interceptions. I mean, with Jared Goff, people tell me he's bad against pressure, but against Washington, I saw him throw one of the best passes I've seen from a quarterback this year when he escaped the pocket and he found Amon-Ra in the back of the end zone. He got through 2 defenders on the right hand side of the line, threw it right up to the top of the end zone where only Amon-Ra could get it, and then got pancaked by 2 more defenders for in trouble. We're told he panics and that, but I mean, since especially the good spurt last year, he's looked very calm, very cool, very collected. He looks like he runs this offense now, and yes, I get there are still problems with him. He's never going to be perfect, etc. He's had a lot of drops this year to deal with as well, but I think right now he's what our offense. He's bringing some of the best out of our offense.
Yeah, agreed. And I thought he was good last week. He's being a little bit more than a game manager, and as you said, that one throw last week was really, really nice. So yeah, I kind of think this is a game where Goff can step up and again show us that he is an above average quarterback. He's not top 10 quarterback, but he's absolutely above average, and I'm happy with that. But let's see Shark step up. Let's hopefully, if Reynolds is fit, he can catch some passes. We've not really seen much from Khalif Raymond, and again, he needs to step up if St. Brown's out. And yeah, Hockenson, absolutely. We need to have 5 or 6 receptions from Hockenson this game. Otherwise, I'll be very disappointed considering who he's up against.
So I'll go through a few things to end this, because we've gone through the teams now. We've gone through about as much as we can. So I'm going to ask first about what you want to see in this game first. So you mentioned some players there, but what are some of the things you want to see most out of this game from the team or individual players themselves?
Okay, so I think in terms of like the whole next man up attitude, I want to see that proven. So I want to see Craig Reynolds come in and have plenty of touches and plenty of penetration through the line. I want to see if St. Brown's out, I want to see Reynolds and Shark step up. I absolutely want to see more from Hockenson. And in terms of defense, like, we need a bounce back game after last week's showing. We need to see Geno Smith face down in the turf on several occasions with Aiden Hutchinson stood over him. And yeah, there's a massive opportunity for someone at safety. So please, God, can one of those three absolutely take command of that position, and make it their own, and show that they can stand in for Tracy.
Agreed. I think what I want to see most this weekend is a much better defensive line performance, because like I say, if you can't get pressure against this line, there aren't going to be many times you come up against a team with 2 rookie tackles and a wobbly interior. This is what we've paid for. I know that second round picks aren't in there, but Aleem was a decent draft pick, Aiden was a decent draft pick, Charles Harris we're paying good money to, Brockers we're paying good money to. This should be the time when we need to be aggressive, and hopefully Aaron Glenn is aggressive for this one. So I think out of anything, that is what I really want to see in this, because if that defensive line is aggressive and gets pressure on Geno Smith, it solves so many problems for you in this game. It makes your route to victory so much easier. So that's the big one for me. So I mentioned route to victory. What are your keys to victory for this one, Steve? What do the Lions need to do to win this game?
I think we want to avoid finding ourselves at 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 10 constantly. So I want to see some, establish the run. We should be able to have 4.5, 5 yards per attempt, yards per carry in terms of against this running defense. I don't want to see the coaches overthinking things. I don't want them to try and compensate for the mistakes they made last week and show us how aggressive they can be on 4th down. We just need to manage the clock. We need to, dominate the time of possession. And like I said, Campbell just needs to keep his head and not get too excitable and not get, obsessed with, having to show and prove his coaching, that he's atoned for his mistakes last week. Let's just have a calm head and let's make this just a routine win.
Right, just quickly before I do, and I agree with you for everything you've said there, before I do my keys to victory, We're going to do the predictions afterwards. I'm well aware that a lot of people are going to be diving over to Micro Mike's channel soon because he is just the best at doing this. I understand why everyone goes and watches. So everyone in the chat, put in your predictions for this one. Who's going to win? What's the score going to be? I'll read them all out when I have done my keys for victory. So for me, I'm with you, Steve. I need to see that the problems of last week have been, at least in some way, resolved in terms of some of the play calling, in terms of some of the players on the pitch, the execution. I just want to see a disciplined performance this week, especially if Amani's playing, then hell, I need to see some discipline from him in this one. In terms of the actual game itself, we have to stop this run game. We don't want to be the team that ignites the Seahawks run game. I don't want to be listening to the entire commentary going, oh, the Seahawks run game's finally come to life. I hate being the team who people break their ducks against. I want us to be the team that clamps down and people go, my God, are they ever going to have a good running attack again? But that's the key here. Clamp down Rashad Penny and Kenneth Walker if he plays. I will be worried if Kenneth Walker plays because hell of a running back when he's fit and healthy, and then go after Geno Smith because he is not great under pressure. He likes to be in a system where he can dink and dunk, make his easy passes, find his receivers who get him out of trouble. So if you take away his run game and we can put him in third and long situations, send the whole house after him, we will get turnovers. Whether it be fumbles, whether it be interceptions, the ability to win the game relies on that for me. And then on the offense, it's pretty similar. It's hammer those first two lines of the Seahawks defense. There are some good edge rushers in there, like you say. Don't get into second and long. Run the ball well. Put yourself in short yardage situations. Get the play action pass book out and just do everything that you can with it. And just target those linebackers who struggle in coverage. And then I think that's it. That is the route to getting points on there. Just stay away from those secondary guys. I don't want to see us launching balls at Tariq Woolen, etc. I do genuinely think they will give us trouble. Those two young studs in there who've had good starts to the season. They've got a veteran leader in Quandre Diggs with them. He will have them organised and ready. So attack those first two lines. That's the key for me. Offense, attack the two lines, run the ball well. On defense, stop that run, get after Geno Smith, and don't let DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett take the game away from you. So, Stephen, last question of the day before we finish. What is the score going to be and who is going to win? And I'm just going to say now, there's a lot of pro-Lions ones in here, so don't disappoint us.
So what's the over-under on this? Is it Lions by 4.5?
6.5. Oh, I forgot to mention that right at the beginning. So we're 1-0 when we're favoured this year. We're favoured by 6.5 points, or at least it was at the start of the week. I don't think anything, unless Amon-Ra's injury changed that or whatever, but we're favourites.
So Lions at 6.5. I am saying hammer the over. Absolutely hammer it. I think Lions 21-10.
Oh, so a low scorer.
Yeah.
A low scorer, but a dominant low scorer.
I don't think it's going to be the best game to watch, and I don't think, but either offenses are going to be humming. But for me, absolutely hammer that over. I think we can have a double-digit win here.
So we put down 29 on them last season when we were battered with injuries. I mean, that was at the part of the season where it was in January. I think half our team had been taken out for the season to recover them, and we still put nearly 30 on them. I think we can do a little bit better. I'm going to go 31-18 for the Detroit Lions. I think we're going to win comfortably. I think we're going to get back to 500. I just believe in the team this year. When its back's up against the wall, it's not just providing a good performance to get out of a hole now. It's providing a winning performance to get out of it. Saw it against the Eagles. It's what growing teams do. They have pains, they have their bumps, and then they rise back up again. And I fully believe they're going to rise back up. And I think the atmosphere at Ford Field is going to be a huge factor in this one as well. Home crowd is actually a home crowd at this moment in time. And, just make Geno crumble under the pressure. Make it to the point he has to go to silent counts, and he's having to it has to be as complicated as possible for him. Make his life miserable. Make him hit him. Drown his voice out so his offense can't hear him, and really put the hammer down on these guys. So yeah, 31-18 for me. in the chat. John Ball goes 33-19 Lions win. Carlton Wood 28-17 Lions. Lady Lion 20 Lions 35-18. Grandizer 37-16 Lions score over 35. Player of the game Goff, love it. C goes, we going 500 baby. You damn right we are. Steve-O 35-10 to the Lions. Oh yeah, John Ball says it is 4.5 now. Marty Greenberg in the chat, 31-20 to Detroit. I expect a good, solid performance all around. Oh, I absolutely love this. I love when the optimism's up. I did this last week against the Vikings, and I had my heart broke. But hey ho,
has anyone picked the Seahawks here?
Nobody's picked the Seahawks. I don't think we're a big enough channel to have opposition fans listening to us yet, really. So, James Burgess has popped in with 31-16 there. Let me check Twitch because I've been people there. Where are we at? Derek Bo Barrick says 28-17. Dan Pask says Lions 31, Seahawks 24. My oh my, we've got some good ones going in here. Derek Bobarek, he's got a highlighted message. He goes, if we don't win against Seattle, I'm going to have a serious case of the Mondays. You and me both. Poor Matthew's back on Monday, and what a show he's going to have to deal with, and what a panel he's going to have to deal with if we are all depressed as anything. Speaking of, I don't think he's back on Sunday. If we win again and Matt's over there, then if one of you wants to adopt him as a good luck charm, we're taking applications. We'll not let him get on the plane back. So, whenever the Lions are winning and he's over there, we'll keep him there. So, hey ho. Anyhow, Music Dreams is also in. 28-21 to the Lions. Keep getting your score predictions in there. I'll go through. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we finish, by the way, Steve? Anything else you want to mention this week?
What do you think Ryan McCluskey's predicting?
Ryan's predicting a win, otherwise he's going to have an all-time epic meltdown on the Monday podcast, which for him, that's a high bar now. His epic meltdowns have gone out of... We've created a monster with Ryan, so...
he used to be such a nice, polite boy.
He did. You go back and watch his first podcasts on here about 18 months ago. Yeah, I would never have assumed we'd seen this side of Ryan, so... Yeah, keep getting your predictions in if you haven't yet. I'm just going to quickly go through our next little bit. So our next shows, Monday the 3rd of October is our next main podcast. That is the Seattle Seahawks review. Our own Matthew Turner will be back to lead the way once more. So thank you to everyone who's listened over these last couple of weeks while he's gone. I know it must not have been easy having me dealing with everything instead, but I've tried to do the best job with the pod possible in absentum, and he will be back, and we will all be back as one next Monday. So yeah, come and enjoy us for that, and hopefully we will have Megan on as well. She is an Australian Seattle Seahawks fan, recommended to us by Grandizer, trying to get a show sorted with her, so hopefully we'll have some Seahawks feedback as well, and hopefully it's them talking about a Seahawks defeat. And then next Wednesday, the 5th of October, the College Football Podcast is back. We are reviewing Week 5 of the college season, previewing Week 6, and we might be doing some more player scouting as well. So get all board on that. Let me just quickly check any others in the chat. Grandizer says, have a great day, lads. Have a great day, Grandizer. I'll probably see you on Mike's channel in a minute anyhow. Cap Ice Cole goes, I see the Seahawks the same as Washington, a team we can fight and can pull a win on. C says, thank you guys, well done, Nate. Really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who's joined us on Twitch, everyone who's joined us on YouTube. Had great fun this evening. Dan Pasco's mess up all the Zoom settings for Matt. No, me and Matt have never met yet, and I do intend to try and want to meet him one day. So if I do that, then he'll blank me for a long time. So got to try and keep relations cordial there. So
he's quite tall, Matt is. He's a big lad.
Wouldn't you believe it? I've not met anyone from this podcast yet, and we've been doing it 2.5 years now. Mad. So yeah, thank you everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the game. Hopefully we get a win and we can all come back on Monday and have a huge, big-ass victory Monday stream together. You can find us all over the internet. YouTube, Roar of the Lions UK. Twitch, ROTL_UK. Facebook page, Roar of the Lions UK. And our Facebook group, Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. Twitter and Instagram, you can find us at ROTL_UK. And on our website, you can find us at www.roarofthelionsuk.com. Our writer, Ashley Soden, has just put up the preview for this week. It's a very good read, so if you want to get a little bit more Seahawks preview in your life, then go along to the website and check that out. It just remains for me to thank Steve Collins, the master of Detroit rap, and we will see you again, Detroit hip hop, sorry. We will see you again on Monday. Until then, go One Pride.
Make the change.